This is week 6. A reminder that next week is spring break. I have not been able to schedule a library field trip, but I'm still working on it. Maybe we can do it. We'll see. I'll let you know. If you are interested in a library field trip, why don't you just send me a quick email or let me know on Remind if that is something that you would be interested in doing. Okay. What were we talking about in the discussions this week? Again, you guys are doing such a great job with the discussions. If you've missed a discussion because you just haven't been able to get to it, know that you can go back and redo it. You can do it later. You will lose points for it unless you've given me some indication about why you can't do it. But please make sure you do all the discussions, but keep up the great work with those. So some of the things that stood out to me were having discussions, conversations with children. A number of you talked about talking while eating. It's a calm time. It's a relaxed time. It's a time when kids are not focused on a toy or something that they're doing. So it's a great time to have conversations. And a couple people brought up those silent lunches that grade schools and middle schools used to do. I always wonder, who is that for? I think that is 100% for the adults who are working in the lunch area. And if you have children who have spent an entire morning in a classroom trying to control themselves, keeping themselves from talking out of turn, whatever, being quiet, and then you let them loose in the lunchroom and don't allow them to talk, I think that that is not developmentally appropriate. Like, they should be allowed to talk to each other. This should be a time when they can talk. You can certainly remind them to keep it down, right? It's okay to teach them rules about how it's appropriate to talk, but it's also appropriate to talk while you're eating lunch, while you're in a social environment. That worries me, that people would make silent lunch a thing. Listening. We can't just say listen to kids. We need to tell them what that means. We need to say to them, when you are listening to me, you're looking at me, you're hearing what I'm saying, you're understanding. If you don't understand, you can always ask me a question. That's what listening is. And a couple of people brought up the idea of having an illustration of what listening looks like. In our group time areas, we had a poster that had, I have listening ears, looking eyes, quiet voices, hands in lap, that kind of thing. And with 3-year-olds for sure, every time we were in the group area, we would remind them. We would go to the picture on the wall and say, what does this mean? What are the things that we do when we're in group time so that we're good listeners? As with everything else, we often say, I need you to do this, but you don't explain why or what that means. And little kids aren't going to get it unless you explain why or what it means, and remind them a lot, right? And then someone else brought up giving kids enough time to respond is really important. It takes some time for them to process what you're asking or telling them to do. Giving them time to respond is really important. Don't think that just because you said it once that they heard you. Don't think that just because you said it once that they understood you. Sometimes it takes a couple of times for you to say it, or it takes an extended, it feels like on your part, time between the request or question and the action on the kid's part. Okay, go back and make up those discussions if you haven't done them. So the book blog isn't quite working the way I thought it was going to. I can't see the forms that you're filling out. If you can see the forms that you're filling out and you can figure out how to do it, if you could drop them into the Dropbox that I created in the book blog, that would be great. I thought we were all going to be able to see everybody else's work, but that doesn't seem to be what's happening. So if you have a form that you have filled out, if you can figure out how to put it into the Dropbox, that would be great. Then I can put them somewhere for everybody to see. The whole idea of the thing was that we were all going to be able to read 10 books, but then we were going to find out about 50 or 60 or 100 books. So let me know if you have any luck with that, okay? I do have what you submitted the other way, so I'll be able to see that, but we need to make sure that we can get all that information shared. Speaking of that, author studies are due after break, so on March 28th. So I am assigning you your author study authors tonight. I will have the list posted right underneath this video. So check it out. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a great week. Keep up those good discussions. Everything that you've done so far is graded right now. And I will let you know about a field trip if we're going to have one, if you let me know if you want one. And spring break is next week. So have a great time.